How you guys doing? Hope you guys had a great day. It's already night here, but I felt since we've been following this sequence, it makes sense to just go through this live, have the conversation, and put it to bed. That's why I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. I'm just finalizing, fine tuning the whole pieces to make sure everything is working. Then we can kickstart and just move. So please, if you join us, let us know where you're joining us from, as usual, so that we can give an alert to you. Thank you so much. Wow. It is season 10. Oh, it is episode number 10 of the Quiet Build series. And as you know by now, episode number 10 is always the episode finale, the grand finale of the episodes that makes up the series. So this is season finale for us today on the Quiet Build series. And I want to start by saying thank you to every one of you for being there for us, for engaging with the content, for your response, for your questions, for answers, for making us laugh even. So thank you so much. But I hope sincerely that you learned a lot, because I learned a lot too. This has been a great series. But yeah, let's wrap it up. The Quiet Build. The final title is final title is, hey John Livingston, how you doing? How are you? Thanks for joining us. Where are you joining from today? Thank you so much. The final title for this is what you become when you keep showing up. What you become when you keep showing up. We've gone through 9 titles now, 9 episodes. This is a final one. We'll say, hey sis Scarlett, how are you? Although this is a final title, what you become when you keep showing up. So I want to talk to the person who is tired tonight. You're tired not because you're lazy, but because you've been carrying life. You've been trying to grow, trying to build, trying to become. And some days it feels like you're the only one who sees the effort. No applause, no celebration, nobody is saying, I'm proud of you. Just you. Waking up again, trying again, and going over it again and again and again without anybody saying, well done. It is you I want to talk to tonight as we round off this series. I need you to hear this, please. The Quiet Build was never about being impressive. This series we've just done, the all 9 episode, was not about being impressive. It was about being transformed. It was about transformation. Because I'm fine, Lucas. How you doing? Because the strongest lives don't change in one big moment. The strongest lives don't change in one big moment. They change in the quiet. The strongest lives don't change in one big moment. They change in the quiet. Thank you so much, Lucas, for that. The change when you keep the word. The change when you stop rushing. The quiet life change when you grow, when you outgrow the noise, when you choose standards, when you protect your energy, when you keep building even when it is not visible. See, this final episode is a closing, but more than that, it's a confirmation. All right, this talk tonight is a confirmation. If you stayed through the quiet, you're already becoming the kind of person you've prayed to be. You're already becoming the kind of person you've always wanted to be. So in episode 1, we talked about you stopped drifting and you started building on purpose. So that was the episode where I asked the question, what are you building? What are you building? That is what drove all this discussion. See, most people don't ruin their life with one big mistake. Think of the people you know. Think of those celebrities, football stars, whatever you may call them, actors, artists, those you know that you kind of wonder, how come did they drift into oblivion? How come did they ruin their lives? How come with all they had around them? Now, they didn't ruin their life with one big mistake. They didn't ruin their life with one big mistake. They ruined it with drift. Yesterday, I was reading a book about a lady. I don't want to mention her name, a popular musician that went one way. The daughter also went the same way. The husband is living the same kind of life. Now, all these people, they don't make that mistake in one big bang. No, it is a drift. You start going gradually. You start making little silly mistakes, and those mistakes, they compound. It is a drift. If you ruin your life, if you see somebody that his life has become a ruin, it is not out of he made one single mistake and everything happened. No, it made simple mistakes. They didn't choose what they were building. They just responded to whatever is loud. They live the life of what you call what's gonna be is gonna be. You know those people that say what's gonna be gonna be? What's gotta be gotta be. What goes up must come down. All right, those people that live their life that way, they're subject to ruin. They respond to whatever is loud. Bills, people, stress, pressure, comparison. And when life gets noisy, they stop leading their own life. So the first lesson of this entire series was simple. What are you building? That came from after we talked about the disciplined life. So we moved into this series, and the first lesson was, what are you building? Not what are you busy with, not what are you surviving, not what are you reacting to. What are you building that will still matter when the noise fades? What are you building that will still matter when the noise fades? Now think of this. This is a person who have been productive for years but feels empty. Because productivity without direction is just exhaustion. The quiet build gave you direction. Like you always hear me say, this channel is all about growth, it's all about direction. And this series we're just rounding off gave you direction. That first episode asked the question, what are you building? In the next episode, we'll learn that rushing is not speed. Rushing is fragility. Rushing is fragile. Then we confronted something that destroys good people. Rushing. Now you just got an idea. You ran straight head on into things without understanding the nitty-gritties. Without understanding what you need to do first, you just rushed into it. Rushing is what people do when they are afraid of waiting. You got an idea like, hey, Matt, I got it. Then you just ran into it without looking at, okay, what next? What is next step? What am I supposed to do next? Rushing is what people do when they are afraid of waiting. And also when they are afraid of the middle. We talked about the middle in most of these talks. We did say that the middle is always the point where most of the things go south. The middle is always the point where people make a mistake. The middle is always the point where people don't want to wait for a result, because at that point, there's actually no result. So rushing is what people do when they are afraid of waiting. when they are afraid of the middle, when they are afraid of uncertainty, when they are afraid of looking slow, they start to rush. But rushing doesn't make you faster. That's what that lesson, that episode made us understand. Rushing doesn't make you faster. It makes you fragile. Rushing introduced fragility into the whole picture. Because anything that is built too fast eventually collapses under pressure. Anything that is built too fast, it collapses under pressure. There is a duration for every build. There is what we call the right timing for every build. Anything that is built too fast, when the weight of life, it collapses under its own weight, not to even talk of the weight of external forces. See, this is the person who restarts like every few months. You know, some people love the idea of novelty. Or some people like it. They like to live in a life where things are new. They like to live on new ideas. They like to live on trends. So what happens? Every time they have new plans. Every time they have a new routine. Every time they have a new vision. But the problem with that is that person is not. It does not wait to have roots. It does not wait to have roots. So he is always shallow. Because today it's working on this plan. Before you know it, it's moving to the next plan. It's moving to the next plan. And it's not because they are incapable. No, it's because they keep living the build right before it becomes stable. So they keep living what they are building before it even starts getting fruit. Before it gets stable, before the roots get into the ground for it to start getting fruit, they leave what they're building. So you see them moving from place to place, new plans to new plans, new vision to new vision, new idea to new idea, but they don't have fruits to show. In episode number 3, we talked about changing time horizon. A lot of people are not making bad choices, we did say. They're making what we call short choices. So they choose relief today and inherit. They kind of push the consequence back by choosing what we call instant gratification. They choose instant gratification, and they don't know that once you choose instant gratification, you have actually pushed back the consequence. You're still going to meet it, but you might meet it on the wrong time or at the wrong time. They choose relief today and inherit the consequences tomorrow. Long-term thinking asks a different kind of question. We did dwell on long-term thinking in that episode. We said long-term thinking is like, ask the question like, if I keep choosing what I'm choosing now, where will it take me? If I keep living my life this way, if I keep living with this style, where will it take me? That question is the beginning of wisdom. That question is the beginning of wisdom. If I keep going down this path, where will it lead? If I keep living my life this way, where will it take me? What will be the result of my living this way? The reason why I say that question is the beginning of wisdom is that it turns life into leadership, not reaction. It pivots you into becoming a leader, not becoming a follower of your life. You lead your life, you don't just react. Now, this is the adult who finally says things like, I can't keep living like this and expect something different. And that's what insanity has been defined as by, I've forgotten now. But insanity has been defined as doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. But this is where an adult says, no, I can't keep living like this and expect something different. And he's saying that not out of shame, but out of clarity. Because now he knows that, oh, for me to get a different result, then I have to do something differently. We talked about you accepting the fact that loneliness comes as a package when you're growing. It comes in the package when you're growing. Because we did say a lot of people, they get to the point where they start thinking, why am I becoming lonely? In this journey of growth, in this journey of development, a lot of people that we grew up together, they no longer want to associate with me. They no longer want to go with me. And a lot of people see that as a problem, and they fall back. We did make mention in that episode that loneliness is part of the package. Then we talked about the part where nobody prepares you for loneliness. When you start building something real, your pace will change. You stop being available for everybody and everything. You stop joining every distraction. Every discussion it doesn't look funny to you anymore. The jokes don't look funny. Your crowd gets reduced and reduced and reduced, because the pool of people that can see what you're seeing, they are very few now. But here, this is what we learned. Loneliness is not always loss. Loneliness is not always loss. Sometimes it's proof that you're finally focused. Sometimes loneliness is proof that you are finally focused. So we related that to the person who feels like they have outgrown the room. The same conversation doesn't feed them anymore. They don't feel it anymore. The same cycles don't inspire them anymore. And instead of running back for comfort, they stay in the quiet and keep building. We said loneliness is part of the package when you're building something real. So if you find yourself getting lonely and lonely and lonely on your path to growth, that is not a mistake. It doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. No, it is part of the package. And a lot of people are not taught. So when they get that, when they're bitten by loneliness, they tend to fall back. So that episode helps us clear that fact. And we talked about people that mistakes boring for broken. So there was an episode where we talked about people mistaking boring for broken. This one changed a lot of people because we got a lot of comments on that episode. See, boring is where most people they sabotage themselves. I call it self-sabotage. Because when life becomes stable, they create chaos to feel alive again, because they no longer live in a boring life. So when progress feels repetitive, they quit because it feels unimpressive. We talked about people loving the idea of novelty here. People loving the idea of chaos. Because when your life becomes stable, when your life becomes repetitive, when you know how the result looks like, it will look boring, but it will be fruitful. The truth is, repetition is where foundations are built. Repetition is where consistency is cemented. Boring doesn't mean broken, my friends. It doesn't mean broken. It often means balanced. It often means balanced. This is where we liken this to marriage. The marriage that becomes calm. No drama, no highs and lows, just steadiness. And instead of calling it dead, mature people recognize it. That's peace. That's safety. That's something worth protecting. But those minds that are not mature, they see it as being boring. Because they want something that they want chaos. They want chaos. And we shifted from that. We shifted from success to legacy. Hey, what's up, Matt? Good. How you doing? How you doing? Oh, thanks for that, buddy. Appreciate you, man. Thank you. Then we shifted from success to legacy. We elevated the conversation here. We said success is achievement. Success is achievement, but legacy is inheritance. Legacy is inheritance. Legacy is more than success. Legacy is where people absorb from you. People absorb from you. People say, wow, I'm learning something from this person. They absorb how you handle stress. They absorb how you handle conflict. They absorb how you treat people when you're tired. They absorb what you tolerate. They absorb what you model daily. Legacy isn't loud. Legacy is repeated. See, this one hits people very hard for parents and for leaders. So if you're a parent and a leader, you understand this, because you realize that they're not just hearing what you say. The kids or the people you lead, oh, I call your words, they're not just hearing what you say. They are learning who you are. They are learning who you are, not just what you say. And that realization turns discipline into responsibility. It makes you want to make sure that, oh, whatever I say makes sense. So we moved it a notch higher, and we talked about the period of invisibility, where you're working but there's no result. It's not that there's no result. No result is showing. There's no visible result. This is where builders are made, or this is where they are broken. This is where they are made, or this is where they are broken. When the results are not visible, you are consistent, but nothing looks different. You're like, hey, Matt, I do what you say, man. I keep to the rules. I keep to the results, man. I keep to the laws. I'm good with those stuff, man. But I'm not seeing anything. I'm not seeing any change. I'm not seeing anything, man. I don't know if I'm doing anything wrong. Am I making a mistake? You're consistent, but nothing looks different. You're disciplined, but no one notices you. You're doing the work. You're keeping the time, but you can't see the fruit yet. Man, this is where leaders are broken, and this is where leaders are made. And this is where builders are broken, and this is where builders are made. In that episode, you learn that invisible doesn't mean ineffective. Because you're not seeing the result now doesn't mean there is no result. No. Some of the strongest growth happens on the ground. And I told you the story of the Chinese bamboo tree. We did say that the Chinese bamboo tree is planted, like it stays under the ground for like 5 years, and the grower, the farmer, keeps on watering it. The farmer keeps on watering it, irrespective of, there's no sprout, nothing is sprouting, but he knows that one day it's going to sprout. And when it sprouts, it grows under 6 months, and it grows to a very high length. Now, this is a person that is whispering and he's saying, you know what, Matt? Maybe these things are not working. Maybe these things are not for me. Maybe these things are not for my locality. Maybe these things, they work where you live. But the truth is this. It was working in you first. Because the build that is quiet doesn't produce result before it produces resilience. So what you've gotten is resilience. And that is the beginning of the results. So we took it a notch higher. We said, you got to choose standard over feelings. We said feelings are not real. If you're building something real, emotion can't be on your driver's seat. You can't let your mood dictate your day. You can't let emotion dictate your day. Feelings, we said, are real, right? Emotions are real. Moods are real. Yeah, we know that. But we know that they are unstable. And you can't build your life on something that is not stable. If you build your life on feelings, you will restart every now and then. So you will restart your life forever. This is where we talked about standards. We said if you build your life on standard creates stability. So irrespective of how you feel, irrespective of what your system is showing, irrespective of what you're feeling, the signs and the signal and the symptom, The standard, if the standard become your guide, the standard becomes your yardstick going forward. Standard says things like, I'll show up even when I'm not inspired. I will show up even when I'm not inspired. I'll speak with respect even when I'm frustrated. I'll speak with respect even when I'm frustrated. I'll keep my word even when it's inconvenient. I'll keep my word even when it's inconvenient. See, this is when someone stops asking questions like, I don't feel like it. And he starts saying things like, I'm the kind of person who keeps my word, whether I feel like it or not. Whether I'm feeling this way in my body today, whether I'm feeling high or low, I don't care. I've already given my word, so I'm going to keep my word. I'm going to keep my word. Someone say, Matt is mad. I ain't gonna pay. Thank you so much. I know my kids. Thank you for that. All right. Standards replaces feelings. You don't let, this is where we talked about not allowing feelings and emotion and moods being your driver's seat. And we said this is what identity is. This breeds identity. This breeds real growth. When you're able to replace emotions with standards, when you're able to replace feelings with standards, when you're able to replace moods with standards, this is identity. You're now in the realm of knowing who you are. And this is where real growth is cemented. Then we moved into conserving your energy. We said energy is finite. It's not infinite. We said that yesterday. We said energy is finite. It is an asset. It has to be protected. Most people go bankrupt internally because they spend energy on things that don't build anything. They spend their energy on argument. They spend their energy on proving themselves. They spend their energy on reacting to opinions. They spend their energy on urgency that isn't theirs. They spend their energy by yeses they regret. So you say yes, 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 yes to every Tom, Dick, and Harry. When you should say no, you say yes. Now for those my followers that are young, this is one of the areas where we drill a lot. You say yes, yes, yes to so many things, and at the end of the day, you're like, hey, Matt, I needed to say yes because I don't want to lose that opportunity. I always say you are not going to lose, you will lose yourself. You don't say yes to everything, and that thing becomes a draining sport in your life. You need to conserve your energy. You need to know where to channel your energy to. You don't try to prove what everybody said is whether it's true or false. You don't get into every argument. No. Because you're disciplined, because you know what you're building, things might be said about you that doesn't make sense, but you keep on moving in the right direction. Elliot, hello, I see you. Thanks for joining. You don't have to prove yourself. You don't have to win every argument. Because when you do this, you're channeling your energy to the wrong direction. This is you channeling your energy to the wrong direction, trying to win everything somebody said about you on social media, trying to win every wrong information that was given. No, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. And you don't have to react to every opinion. Individuals, everybody is subject to his own opinion. Everybody is subject to their own opinion. You don't have to be right. See, like I tell people on this channel, I might say some things that you don't agree with. It's all okay. It's okay. If you don't agree with, we can have a conversation and disagree to agree. I don't have to argue with you that Matt is right and you're wrong. No, I don't have to do that. If I do that, I'm wasting my energy. Energy that I should have channeled in the right place. I'm channeling that in the wrong place. We did say energy is finite. It is not infinite. It is not something that doesn't wind up. That is why you see some people at the end of the day, before the day is over, they're already tired because they focused on the wrong things. They focus on the wrong things. The quiet build taught you that boundaries are not selfish. Learn how to create boundaries. Boundaries are not selfish. You creating boundaries does not mean you're bad. It doesn't mean you're wicked. That's what we learned also from that episode. Creating boundaries doesn't mean you're bad. It doesn't mean you're a wicked person. No. Boundaries are strategic. Boundaries are very, very strategic because they help you manage your sanity. They help you manage access. If you don't create boundaries, you will spend all your day reacting and your energy will be sapped. And you know what? You will not have time and you will not have energy left to build something meaningful. So to protect your own time, to protect your own sanity, boundaries are very important. They are very important. Now, this is a person who finally stopped over-explaining. Have you seen people that over-explains? But you get to a point where that person says, no, I'm no longer over-explaining. I'm done. I'm done. I'm going to say it the way it is. And if you don't believe it, it's all on you. But I don't have to over-explain things. That is putting your energy in the right place. This is a person who stopped trying to convince everyone. This is a person who stopped answering everything immediately, answering every call immediately. No. And suddenly they can, once they stop all this, they can start breathing again. They can start breathing again. They can start living in their work scope, not living in people's timeline. And then they can start building again. They can start building. Now, this brings us to what I call the final lesson, right? Which is today's lesson, the final lesson. See, you didn't just build a life. If you followed all this, you didn't just build a life. You built a person. Now, listen carefully, friends. The quiet build was never just about routines. The quiet build, which we started talking about from the past 9 episodes, it was not just about routines. It was about identity. Identity, because what you become is the real reward. What you become is the real reward. When you keep showing up, you become directed. Because now you choose what you're building, right? When you keep showing up, you become patient. Because now you stop rushing. You try to understand things before you move. When you keep showing up, you become rooted. Because now you started thinking long term. You started thinking long term, not short term thinking, not reactive thinking. When you keep showing up, you become steady. You don't just, you don't run away from loneliness. No. Now you understand things. When you keep showing up, you become reliable. You stayed even when it is boring. When you keep showing up, you become impactful. Your thinking is no longer success, it's now legacy. When you keep showing up, you become resilient. You survive the invisibility. You now do stuff, you don't even have to wait and say, hey. When you keep showing up, you survive, you're now aligned. You choose standard over moods. When you keep showing up, you become protected. You've learned that energy needs to be conserved, right? You learn that energy is finite. You learn that energy, there's need to be boundaries so that you can move in the right direction. Now, that is the person you were building, not just the outcome. You were building a person all this time. So let me ask you at this point, let me ask you something honestly. If someone watched your life for 1 week, let's take from Monday, somebody watches you closely for 1 week, will they be able to tell what you are building? Now that you know these things, now that you have these tools, now that you have this this shiny gadget in your arsenal, in your war chest. If someone stays back and he watches you for 1 week, will they be able to tell where you're going? Will they be able to tell how you will turn out in 5 years' time? Will they be able to tell how you will turn out in 10 years? Even if they don't get it word for word, but they can fall within the premises of being correct. Will they? Will they be able to tell how your life will look like? Will they be able to tell what you're building? And if someone inherited your habits, would you be proud of what they received? Would you be proud? Or you feel, oh, there goes another guy that's going to fall apart. See, legacy starts with today. Legacy doesn't start with someday, it doesn't start with tomorrow, it doesn't start with when you become rich. Oh man, I don't have anything, man. I don't have anything to leave for nobody. I'm a broke guy. Okay. But legacy doesn't start with that. Legacy starts with today. What you do. Not someday, not tomorrow. Not when I have it all figured out. Today. You know what? Today repeated. We said legacy is what you do in what people can learn from you even when you're gone, what people can take from you even when you're gone. So legacy starts with today, not someday. Legacy starts with today repeated. Friends, you don't need a louder life. You don't need a life that is out there. What you need is a truer life. You don't need to impress people with your pace. No. You don't need that. You need to honor your future with your consistency. You need to live a life that your tomorrow is proud of. You need to live a life that if your tomorrow becomes a person and he meets your today as a person, he shakes hands with your tomorrow and say, thank you for living that way because you made me this way. I asked one question in one of the lives. I said, if your tomorrow meets your today, what will he say? Will he say, man, you wasted my time. You made me this way because you didn't live right. Or he will say, thank you for living that way because you made me this way. You don't need to impress people with your pace, friends. You need to honor your future with your own consistency. Now I tell you, this is quiet build. And if the world will not clap while you're building, if people will not clap, even if your family and friends will not clap while you're building, keep building anyway. Keep on building. Because one day, you look back and realize the quiet work was the loudest proof that you were serious. The quiet work that you did was the loudest proof that you were serious. So even if the world refused to clap for you today, even if your family and your friends turn you back and say, go alone, your dream is too bogus, go alone, we don't care about this dream. Who do you think you are? What makes you think like this? Are you not better than every one of us? Keep on building, my friend. Keep on building. Don't dare stop. Don't dare stop. Because one day you will look back. And when you look back, I want you to realize, I want you to see that quiet work was the loudest proof that you were serious. That quiet work you were doing, that work you were doing in the corner, in the reserve that nobody saw, was the loudest proof that you were serious. Now, this is the end of the Quiet Build series. But this is not the end of building. Building continues. Building continues. Thank you so much, friends, for sticking around with us. I really do appreciate your support. I appreciate your gift. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for the gift. I appreciate all of it. Thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. And if you've not subscribed to our channel, kindly hit the subscribe button. This channel will change your life. I promise you that. We are growth concerned. We are growth focused. We are growth conscious. We are direction focused. If you stay with us for a while, you will see the results. You will see the results for sure. Thank you so much, friends. And just so you know, we're going to start something else. We're going to continue. We are moving from level to level. So we're going to continue with a different series. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag yet. I'll do that by sending a post. So we're going to have a new series coming up, and we're going to send that out as soon as possible. But before then, I want to say thank you for your support. I want to say thank you for growing with us. Stick around. There's a lot to learn. And there's enough space for everybody. We can all grow. We can all grow. We can all live a good life. We can all live a stable life. I don't believe in reacting. And I believe that you also will live that kind of life. Thank you so much, friends. This is night. We all gotta go sleep. Talk to you again tomorrow. Thank you. And this is Matt Miller. If you're just meeting me for the first time, kindly hit the subscribe button. Bye for now. Peace out.